Hi guys, I wanted to clear some things up. First, I know a lot of you have had some trouble with this vehicle wrap project, and it shouldn't be as difficult as it's turning out to be. Part of it is maybe I underestimated the complexity of the clipping masks, and for that I'm sorry. I know that we've had some issues, and I have on screen, or maybe not on screen, but as I've been recording these, been tearing my hair out going, why in the world is this not working the way it's supposed to work? So this video is to try and help you work through some of the issues with the vehicle project, the vehicle wrap project, and clipping masks in general. So I'm going to work with my Ferrari that I have here, the blueprint that I've already shown, and I'm going to show you some different things, some solutions that you may find helpful as you're working on your project, because I'd really like for you to understand and know that there are different ways to solve the problem. Rather than just saying, oh no, there's this one way to make a clipping mask, because there are many. I've found 4 or whatever in the software itself. So I'm going to show you these in series here, and hopefully we can come up with some way for you to create your vehicle wrap project. Now, before I do that, I'm going to give you some tips. So I'll give you the tips right away, and then we'll get into some of the things that you can do if you're having trouble, or if it's not working the way that it should, or the way that I've told you it should. So we'll work ahead together on that. Thank you for your patience, and hopefully this will be helpful. I know it has been helpful for the students in my class. We've had discussions on this project way longer than I had anticipated. But the cool thing is we're learning it, so that's good. Let's keep learning Illustrator. Let's keep plugging away at this, and pretty soon you'll be an Illustrator master. And as you can tell, even as an Illustrator, experienced user, I have trouble with clipping masks sometimes not doing what they're supposed to do, and hopefully this will help. So let's get started. So I have here on my screen again my Ferrari 599 with some masks. You can already see I've been successful in some of this. However, you can see some places where I still need to complete the artwork. So I'm going to delete this mask here, this outline that has the top view and the star that I had in there. So first things first, you need to have an outline of your vehicle. And so in order to do that, I'm going to enter super speed mode here and outline this vehicle using the pen tool and the direct selection tool to modify, and whatever else I need in the case of this vehicle to complete my wrap outline. I'm going to go around the vehicle, and when I get to the mirror here, I will cut that part out. So you may, as you see that, you may wonder why I'm doing that. I will zoom in occasionally. Actually, I'll probably zoom in the whole time. But first, before I do that, I'm going to turn off my smart guides, and I'm going to undo snap to point. Excuse me, wrong one. Snap to point, which is Alt Command apostrophe or quotes on a Mac, or Control Alt apostrophe or quotes on the PC. Okay, so that is what we're going to do, and I will do this top layer, and I'll show you one way of doing that. I've already shown a few ways to create the mask, the clipping mask on these other views. So go back and look at video 4.4, I believe it is, where I do that option. This is a second option which I've discovered may be more useful than the other options in some cases. Okay, now in the other way of doing a mask, I have shown how to draw out each of the individual cutout portions, like the windshield, the headlights, the tail lights, the door handles, etc. And that's in version or module 4.4. And so we've already talked about that. What if that's not working for you? Well, another way you could do it is to work in the mask as you go. And what I mean by that is I've got this yellow stroke, and if I swap my colors, Shift X, then I can see how much of this mask I've already created, essentially. And this is, it retains the vector shape of my outline, but then it makes everything else this fill color that I have. So it can be any fill color that you want, but then what you're going to need to do is making sure that it's selected, which mine still is, and if you need to check, just hold down your control to get your selection tool or your direct selection tool and click on that filled area. And if you need to, go ahead and click the using the selection tool, click off and then click back on. However you need to make sure, drag around the shape, whatever you need to do to make sure that you have your outline that you've just created selected. Then what you're going to do is go up to your transparency or blend mode, and in this case I think transparency might work best, and I'll just knock it down to, like, say 30% or something, so I can still 30%, so I can still see the color, but I know where my outline is and I know where that shape is. Okay, and then I will click off of that. Again, go A and then P to get my pen tool and my direct selection tool on the side so I know where it is. And then I will start to draw around the interior shapes that I'm going to cut out. And now I can see where effectively I am putting the basically I'm going to put a hole in my faded yellow mask here with this darker yellow. I'll get my selection tool, I will click that, and now I have that selected, and I will select the outline again by holding down Shift and then clicking. So now I have both of these, and this will create a custom a compound path, but it will work as though you are already creating the shape with the hole in it. And what you'll do is you'll go to your Pathfinder And my keyboard's too far away from me right now, so I'm gonna go to the menu shortcut, and I'm gonna do minus front. And you see what happens. I have that cut out now. And so I can move on to the other side and AP, so I can get my direct selection tool off the side of the pen, so I can use both. And if I need to manipulate anything, I just hold down Control to change to the direct selection tool to play with those anchors that I'm creating. And then I'll come around and make my next shape. And you can do this kind of a step-by-step fashion. And then my selection tool, click off, click both, zoom out a little bit so I can see. And now I have both the faded yellow body of the outline of my vehicle and the bright yellow new headlight that I've added. Again, go to my Pathfinder tool and do minus front. And you can step through each shape as you go, as you create it and then hit minus front, create it, then hit minus front, and just go step by step. And that way you are creating this compound path as you go, rather than trying to select it all at the end or wondering why it's not working. And this may work for you. So I will again jump into super speed mode here and finish up the rest of these shapes. I will keep my shortcuts and my hotkeys, or excuse me, my shortcut keys and my mouse clicks visible so that you can see what I'm doing. And that way, if you need to pause it and follow along and say you do the same thing, then you're able to do that. Okay, so here we go. Okay, now you can see the completed shape, and this is the outline. Yours, if you, whoops, I just moved it, didn't mean to move it. If I pull it back up to 100% opacity, it's bright yellow. Yours may look more like an outline, like that. I prefer, in this case, let's go with doing the fill and doing each of those steps. If you can't get it to work the other way, as an outline, and it's too complicated or too convoluted or whatever the term is that we need to worry about. If it's too difficult for the computer to process that as a mask, go ahead and do it this way. And so you'll create your shape, the outline, and then you'll knock out each of these individual areas as I've just done. So what do we do now? Well, the first thing that we'll want to do, and this is where you have some choices. After I do a copy of the artwork, and I want to make sure I have a copy, so in case it breaks, I don't have to remember and go back and undo before this point. And so our choices are to, well, first let's save. So Control S, Command S, and then let's take our outline and make a copy of that layer. Just drag it down to the new layer button and turn off the original. Okay, that way we have a copy of this outline as we need it. The next thing you can do is to do the same, do a copy of your design. And in the BB Learn site for my class, I've talked about that, but I'm going to reiterate for anybody who's not in the class or who the class has ended and you want to remember how to do this. Make a copy of your artwork as well. So the design artwork, which in my case, all of these other pieces have joined into the outline. They're already part of a mask. So the logo, the blue background, the gradient here, and the red top are all part of another, they're part of another group. So that's the first thing. Make a copy of it. And then the second most important thing is, as you are creating the mask from your design, only do one view at a time. So as you can see, I've already done the passenger side, I've already done the driver's side, I've already done the rear view, I haven't yet done the front view, and I'm now working on the top view. This way, all of the artwork, all of the designs are only going to be masked by their respective view. So the top will only have the top view artwork in it, the sides will only have the side view artwork, etc. So hopefully this will help clear up some of the confusion, some of the problems that we've had, and hopefully this will help you. So just for an example, the next thing you want to do is make sure that it is a compound path. If you have been using the minus front function that I've been showing throughout the super speed mode here and the previous, this video, all I've done is done the minus front portion and expanding that path around these mirrors, if you saw that. So I've been doing minus front. If you're using that function on the Pathfinder, then as you right click over your shape, you can see it's already a compound path because it's giving me the option to isolate that compound path or to release that compound path. I don't want to do either of those, but this just helps me know I'm working in a compound path. If I click twirl open my artwork, my outline layer, what I have selected, you can see, if I make that a little wider, you can see it's a compound path. And so I can select that. I can turn off all the other artwork, and you can see that the only thing that I have selected here on this layer, let's turn off everything, make sure I've got everything else off on the layer. All right, now I'm actually doing what I said I'm doing. So the compound path is the only thing that's shown, visible, selected, etc., and it's right there. Okay, you've got to have a compound path of your artwork for this to work, period. If you created it with drawing the outlines and then selecting them all and then right-clicking and converting that to a compound path like I've shown, or if you've created it as drawn the outline and then created the mask using the Control-7 function, that will also make sure that, well, first before you do that, you need to make sure it's a compound path. So the easiest way to do that, well, maybe not the easiest way, one more way, because I've already shown a few. I'm going to turn these back on so I don't lose them, the visibility there, and I don't need that one on. Okay, so twirl that close. Now, yeah, all I have selected is this compound path, and when you click off and click back on, you can tell it's selecting the entire compound path. So the next step to do is one that I've shown my students in class, and this makes it probably the most simple step. All you need to do is, while this is selected, as long as it is a compound path, go down to your drawing mode and do draw inside. And as you do that, you will see these dotted lines marking the corners of that boundary. The next thing to do is so super simple. We need to commit, essentially we're committing some artwork to that compound path, to drawing inside. And once we do that, once we start drawing here, it will create it as a clipping mask. It converts it automatically. We don't even have to do anything, just by dragging some artwork into it. And so the easiest way that I have found to do that is by going M for the rectangle tool and then just dragging a shape inside that path. Now you're probably looking at it going, wait a minute, how can we tell that that is even doing anything? Because I have the same fill color as I had with my selected object. Well, hit the D on your keyboard after you've created that rectangle, and you'll see now I have a stripe with white fill and a black stroke going down my path, or going down the front of this vehicle here, but it's masked out, and you can see that because it doesn't come out beyond the front of the vehicle. It doesn't come out over the windshield. So just know that that's the way that we can convert that shape into a clipping mask now. So I'm going to exit out of there, and now what I want to do is, if I have some artwork already created, I can go and copy that, select all of it, copy that, and then come into my path by isolate selected clipping mask, and then you can paste your artwork. Now if you don't have artwork in there and you want to start editing or drawing within that clipping mask like I am right now, like for example if I want to change this stripe, there's a couple of ways you can select that. If I try to click on it, sometimes it won't give you that option. Right now I clicked on it and it says that I have the yellow outline as my object. I don't want that as my object right now. So what I can do, if you're having trouble selecting, remember that inside layers and inside clipping masks and inside compound paths are each of the individual vectors. And so I can come over here and click that rectangle. I can move it around in the clipping group, because that's what this is. Remember, it's a clip group because it's a clipping mask. So I can move it around inside there. I can turn off the visibility. I can turn off everything else. And I can click to select it. So if I click to select it, hey, I have all of the controls that I would have had on, a regular object. I think I still have my bounding box hidden. So what is that? Alt Command B. There. Well, maybe not. Let me go back up there. Let's turn on my snapping now that I'm done with my. Turn on my smart guides. Turn on my bounding box. Oh, it was Shift Command B. Turn on. Oops. All right, I'm good there. Okay, so now I can scale it or shrink it or move it or do whatever I want to this individual object inside the clipping mask, and make a copy of it if I need to, or whatever I need to do. And I'm working within the clipping mask, so any change that I make inside the clipping mask that I'm not doing to the clipping mask itself is going to still be clipped out. For example, let me go add a whoops, that's not where I'm looking for, a star tool. So I can put a star in here, and still that's within the clip group. So let's move it so that it kind of, and you can see that it's being masked out. And if we exit isolation mode, so let's go all the way back here, it's still clipped out because it was edited within the clip group, within the clipping mask. So if you can't get it to work those other ways, try this way, because you may find that it's useful and helpful. So now if I have something that I want to add, say, a gradient or some effect to this windshield that I don't want as part of, I don't want it to be masked out. Say I want to make it look like there's a reflection here. And I want to pull out just the windshield portions or the window portions of the vehicle wrap of the outline. I can isolate the clipping mask by right-clicking and get in there. I can go on to that compound shape here, that compound path, and I can just click portions of it. So if I have the selection tool, I can go to the direct selection tool by holding down Control, and the group selection tool by holding down Control and Alt. So I click on that, and then I'm going to get the rear window as well, and then I want the actually I don't. I should have cut that right there. Okay, so I'll just copy these two, and I will copy them so that I'm not destroying my mask itself. And then I will exit isolation mode, and then I'm going to paste in front, and they're yellow. And why are they yellow? Well, remember again that the original mask that they are cut from is yellow. So I can change the color. I can give it a nice Idaho sky blue. Today, Idaho sky blue is more like that. It's kind of raining, but I can get a nice blue here. And then I can do other things to it. I can actually take this and turn that into a compound path and draw inside of that, and so I'll have a second option of things that I can do. So let's make it have kind of a glass appearance to it, and usually in cartoons that's just done by some faked reflection. So I'll do that, switch to the stroke, and there we go. So now I can keep drawing within this mask, and it's not going to affect the other mask, nor is it going to affect anything outside of the mask. And let's do one more streak. And maybe I don't want it to be full white. maybe I want them to be, oops, I need my group selection. Hold down shift, hold down shift. No, I'm going to have to do this. Alrighty, so that's good. I'm going to have to do this. Quit, deselect everything, right click, click that, right click it, isolate, do the same thing, come in here to my layer, move my path. For whatever reason it's pasting behind my clip, my outline, and so I will select these three, and then I'm going to go up and change my blend mode to a soft light, because that'll key into that background color and kind of make those whites look faded. So there we go. I can also isolate again. I can click on that compound path, select it, and give it a black stroke. So you can have multiple masks, and as you work with these objects, you may find you want to do that. And now, you know what? I want to show the lines behind that, so I'll go to multiply, because that'll bring the black out. Maybe I want to go darken instead. No, I want multiply. In fact, I may want to do that with all of my paths. And it's just on the masks. No, I don't want to do that. Wherever I have I have this logo. That logo apparently is a pasted on afterthought. That's not part of the mask. So that could be an option that you want to do. So look at the things that you want to do and see if you can find a way to do it. And again, this is just another way to make the compound path that you're going to use for your artwork that you will want then to turn into your clipping path, or your clipping mask, that becomes the vehicle wrap design. So thank you and good luck with that. Let me see if there's anything else. You may want to save a copy instead of just doing a different layer. You may want to, there's a lot of things you may want to do to make sure that you keep that outline as you've created it. And again, for me, I just made a copy of the whole layer that it was on, and then I can work with that. All right, thank you, and we'll see you in class.